Hi, welcome to Churchill County Library Storytime. My name is Jess. I have a story about a leprechaun for you today. It's called The Luckiest Leprechaun, a tail-wagging tale of friendship. And it's written by Justine Corman and illustrated by Denise Brunken and published by Bridgewater Books. Mackenzie O'Shamrock at your service, but you can call me Mac. I'm a leprechaun, and I don't care if you believe in me or not. Get too close, and I'll show you who's real with my hammer. I may be small, but we leprechauns are not to be trifled with. There, now that that's settled, pull up a toadstool or a chair if you're too big, and I'll tell you my story. I was born beneath a fairy hill back when time was new. Ever since, I've been making shoes for the fairy folk and guarding my gold from greedy people. Treasure hunters have to get up pretty early in the morning to get the best of Mackenzie O'Shamrock. And since leprechauns work at night and sleep during the day, I'm up much earlier than most. No, they haven't made the human yet that could outsmart me. See, he lives in that little tiny tree. And he makes shoes for the other fairies that live there too. That's what leprechauns do. Then, people found a new way to boil my potatoes. They stopped believing in leprechauns. They believed in all sorts of nonsense. But the little man making shoes beneath their very own hedge couldn't possibly exist. It got so only children and oddballs like Professor Chester believed in me. I didn't need people anyway. I had a nice home under a tree in a quiet park, and as long as I had my gold and my work, this leprechaun was content. Every night I cobbled for the fairies. Do you know what cobbled means? It means he's making shoes for the fairy, and they call it cobbling. Since all the little things do is dance and lose their shoes, business was steady. Every morning, I'd pack away my tools and curl up in my cozy bed. And that's just what I was doing one fine morning when I heard a horrible scratching overhead. Dirt poured down on my favorite armchair as a pair of giant paws burst through the ceiling. My thimble collection clattered to the floor. I grabbed my hammer and ran outside to see who was wrecking my home. I expected a goblin or some other horrible monster. What do you think it is? I found a shaggy red dog bearing a stinky soup bone. "Hello," she barked. "Who are you?" "I'm Mackenzie O'Shamrock," I shouted. "And you've got some nerve destroying my home. You'll not be stealing my gold, you mangy mortal. So just take your bone and go." "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize anyone was living here," the dog said. "Is that your gold? It's very pretty." "Go, shoo, get lost," I shouted, but the dog didn't budge. Shaking her head, she said, "Oh, I feel terrible. I've got to make this up to you. I'll fix your house, and I'll be your guard dog." "I don't need a guard," I said. "But you must need a friend. Everyone needs friends," said the dog. "My name is Lucky. What's yours?" That made me even madder. "Mackenzie O'Shamrock," I yelled. "Oh, that's right, you did tell me," Lucky replied. "But that's so much to remember. May I just call you Mac? I hope we'll be friends. Everything's more fun when you do it together, don't you think? Just the other day Lucky would have gone on like that for hours, but I told her to go away and stay away. Apparently, stay was the only command the dumb dog knew. From then on, wherever I went, there was Lucky. She was slobbering over me when I woke up at dusk. She was on my heels when I gathered cobwebs for thread. Lucky even tailed me when I made deliveries to the fairies. See all those fairies? Those are the ones he was making shoes for. And she always had a cheerful word, or 100. It drove me nuts. That dog was even happy when it rained. Rain is where rainbows come from, Lucky said. I love rainbows. Don't you? I could chase them all day. Why don't you go chase them so I can get some quiet around here? I growled. After a while, Lucky learned not to talk so much, especially when I first woke up. I won't say we became friends, but she got to be slightly less annoying. Speaking of annoying, remember that human I mentioned a while back? The oddball who believed in leprechauns? That's right, Professor Chester. Well, he started snooping around my park. He's after my gold, I cried. Maybe he just wants to be friends, suggested Lucky. I snorted. Humans only want one thing from leprechauns, gold, but he won't get the best of Mackenzie O'Shamrock. Professor Chester was getting dangerously close. He even found a fairy shoe. Don't worry, Mac, said Lucky. You've got your guard dog. Remember? I won't let anything happen to your gold. I took no comfort in the mutt's ravings. I watched Professor Chester poring over his books of leprechaun lore. If only I could prove their existence, he muttered. I shuddered. Maybe he'll just go away, said Lucky. I thought about packing up, but I liked my cozy life under the tree. Besides, business was good, and it's not so easy to find a park filled with fairies. Then one day while I was sleeping, the professor found my tree. He was about to capture me and would have gotten my gold for sure when... Woof, woof, woof! Lucky came charging out of the woods. The professor cried, "Help! Monster! Help!" He dropped his map and ran off screaming. I thought I was having a nightmare. I rolled over with a groan and fell right back to sleep. Professor Chester just kept running until he wore out the soles of his shoes. Turned out the professor was scared of dogs. That evening, I woke up feeling something was wrong. For one thing, the dumb dog wasn't licking my face. Suddenly, with a jerk, I remembered the nightmare. I checked for my gold and all my secret hiding places. It was gone, and so was Lucky. I called Lucky's name until my voice was hoarse, but there was no answer. I felt as if I had lost my shadow and my friend. Then it hit me. My worst fear had come true. That dog wasn't as silly as she seemed. Lucky had duped me into trusting her. As soon as I let down my guard, she'd run off with my gold. I, Mackenzie O'Shamrock, the smartest leprechaun of them all, had finally been tricked out of my treasure. I searched the park for hours, but there was no sign of my gold or of Lucky. I told myself the dog had skipped off with my treasure, but part of me didn't believe it. One minute I was furious, and the next I was worried. What if the pooch had chased a rainbow into traffic or gotten herself taken to the pound? I couldn't even keep my mind on the missing gold. By dawn, I was the saddest leprechaun in the world. After centuries of being suspicious, I'd finally opened my house, my heart and my house, and pow, the first friend I'd made had stolen my gold. The sun came up, and I wiped away a tear. Then a voice behind me said, "Why are you crying?" I turned and saw Lucky and my gold. "Where were you?" I yelled. "I was worried sick." Lucky licked my face. "You do care. I knew we'd be friends." I wiped the dog slobber from my face and grumbled, "I was worried about my gold." Lucky explained that she'd seen Professor Chester nosing around near my tree. After she'd chased him away, she'd hidden my treasure in the tool shed just to make sure it was safe. Then, worn out from all the excitement, she had fallen asleep. "Did you really spend all night looking for me?" Lucky asked. "And the gold," I added hastily. But the damage was done. The dog knew I cared, and she wouldn't stop wagging her tail over it. So there's my story. Leprechaun gets gold. Leprechaun gets dog. Leprechaun loses gold. Leprechaun admits that a loyal friend is worth more than gold, as long as the friend doesn't slobber too much. Now, if that isn't a tale worth telling upon a toadstool, I'm sure I don't know what is. The end. I hope you like that story, and I'm going to tell you about the craft and your little project for this week. Hi, I hope you like that story about leprechauns. Leprechauns are, like it said in the book, a folk legend, and St. Patrick's Day is Wednesday, and is to celebrate the Irish American culture. That's how we celebrate it in the United States. And Ireland is located a long way from here. It's next to England, but it's an island. And sometimes it's called the Emerald Isle because it is so green there. So here's your project for today. I'm wearing the necklace, and you'll get these pieces in your kit. And the way you do the necklace is you weave it in and out like this. So instead of just having one hole, you have two, so you can weave it kind of like that. And you have a little leprechaun, and you have a leprechaun with his gold, and a couple of shamrocks. And shamrocks are thought to bring good luck, so I gave you two of them. And then after you get done with your necklace, you just have your mom or dad tie it off, and then you can wear it like I'm wearing it. And what I did, just to make it, I put some tape on the back just so I could hold the pieces in place. You can do that, or you don't have to if you don't want to. And the other thing that is in your packet today, some people know these as cootie catchers, and it's just a little thing to play with, and you give people their fortunes. So I'm going to ask Joe to choose a number.
3.
Joe chose 3, so I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, Joe, choose a number, color.
Blue.
Joe choose blue. BLUE. So let's see what Joe's fortune is. Are you ready? The excitement builds. Joe's fortune, he gets to make another wish. So you can do this with your friends and your family, and all the instructions are in your packet. So you'll get this, and then it will show you how to make it. You might need a little help, but it's not that hard to do. And then you'll have this that you can play with your friends. And I hope you have fun with these, and have a happy St. Patrick's Day. And I'll see you next time.